Evening everyone, welcome to what is I think my 5th video. I'd like to start by making an apology to my dog. I posted a picture, I tweeted a picture of a dog earlier wearing my squash banana snood as like a body vest, and at the time I was feeling really confident and upbeat about today's football, and I may or may not have mentioned St Totteringham's Day. Obviously that didn't happen, and it would appear this evening that she's become the poster girl of a lot of Tottenham fans on Twitter. So she's a good old girl. She's old, but she's a good dog, and she deserves better than that. So Millie, I'm sincerely sorry for what I've put you through this evening. I'd also like to add that we finished the season really well. It's like we won the last 5 on the bounce. That's a great way to go into the summer. I think only Liverpool have matched that form the last 5 games. So it's a really good way to finish the season. But ultimately, I'm absolutely gutted. I wasn't sure how I felt about this Europa Conference League. It's still Europe. It's, you know, the 3rd tier of Europe. But I wasn't too sure. I think it's a double-edged sword. It would be good for had we got into it, it would be good for the players that wouldn't normally get so many games to get some game time in. I don't think to start with the competition would have been all that strong, so it would be a good way for us to get our confidence up and get some good results in against some teams that we should be beating. But the flip side is you'd have these midweek games where the whole of the management and the coaching staff would have to invest themselves in a game that may not have been perceived as so important. So I don't really know whether the energies of the club being spent on that would be for the good or the detriment of the club. Who knows? But we're not in it, so that don't really matter. But the thing that's really gutted me most is finishing below Spurs. I said a couple of weeks ago, the only thing I really wanted to get out of this season after we went out to Villarreal, the only real thing I wanted to take from it was to just finish above Spurs and have St Totteringham's Day again. And there was a point this afternoon, we were 2 up, they were 2-1 down. I was like, yes, it's going to happen. And then all of a sudden it didn't. Kasper Schmeichel got sent off. Bale scored 2 last-minute goals, and it feels a bit like a defeat at the moment. I was absolutely fuming at the end of the game. I didn't want to speak to anyone. I was doing a fry-up for the wife and kids after the game, and I just turfed everyone out of the kitchen. It's like, just leave me alone. I don't want to speak to anyone. I mean, those of you out there that do like watch-alongs and post-match reaction shows, fair game to you. You must be a lot calmer than me, but there's no way in a million years I could do that. I was so fucking angry, and there we go. I said to myself, don't swear while you're doing this one, because you can like sort of, you know, kids can watch it and stuff. But I've already sworn, so that's out the window. So I might as well carry on swearing. Anyway, yeah, just so angry, so pissed off, just so frustrated. Which, I mean, there's a lot I want to talk about tonight, so I'll try to rattle through some stuff, because I'll try not to make it as long a video as I normally do. Because it'd be nice if some people actually, you know, or a few people watch this and don't get bored and switch off before the end. So here we go. Right, next thing, Arteta. Now, I've said before, I've been Arteta in for most of the season. I see something in him, and I don't know whether he's the right bloke for the job long term. I want him to be the right bloke for the job, and I think if you disregard, I know you shouldn't disregard half a season, but if you disregard the 2020 part of this season and just look at 2021, it's like our form since Boxing Day, this has been said quite a lot, and most people are probably aware of this, but our form's the 3rd best. We're behind only Man City and Man United. We're better than Liverpool, better than Chelsea. So the signs are there that improvements are being made. and I know our league position is shockingly bad, and it's not where a club like us should be, but it is where we are. But the facts remain that we are improving, and you look at the way that we've played these last 5 games, with the exception of Chelsea. All right, they're teams that you would say historically Arsenal should be beating, but I've been encouraged, and you look at the form of some of the players who over the last season or so haven't really pulled up trees. I mean, Pepe, the last few games, it looks like he's becoming the sort of player that we thought we'd bought. I know a player shouldn't take like 2 years to find that form or find that place in the English game, but you know, he's looking the part. And I don't know whether Arteta's the right bloke, like I've said, but I was as close to being Arteta out as I ever have been after the first game against Villarreal, and I was quite vocal about, you know, I couldn't defend the decisions he's made, and he's made so many mistakes this season. But I'm at this point confident going into next season. We've got less distractions. We'll probably have a much smaller squad, which brings him on to my next point. I don't know if anyone remembers, but earlier in the season he said the summer was going to be unprecedented. Now, I don't for 1 minute think by him saying that means there's going to be unprecedented spending. I think it's going to be unprecedented because there's going to be lots of movements from our club. There's going to be a lot of players going out, and I think spending wise, the players that come in is going to be dictated largely by the amount that we can get rid of. Now, we've all got our lists of players we want to see the back of. My list kind of goes like this. Bellerin's got to go, Guendouzi's got to go, Torreira will go largely through family reasons, and you know, it'd be nice to see him be able to go back to South America to be with his family. And Ketty's got to go, and I think Xhaka as well. There are others who are fringe players like Holding and Chambers. I'm not offended by them. You know, they seem like, you know, decent, solid professionals who may or may not be squad players. But you look at those players that I've mentioned, and then if you look at their market value, there's got to be £100 million worth there. You know, there's some 10, 15, 20 million pound players. And then if you throw Joe Willock into that as well. Now, 2 or 3 months ago, Joe Willock was probably a 10, 15 million pound player. He's just gone and scored 7 on the bounce for Newcastle. They clearly want him. But from what was a 10 or 15 million pound player, we've now got somebody who's got to be worth at least 25, maybe 30 million. And I've made no secret of the fact, I like this lad. He stood up when other players wouldn't. But you've got to look at the economics of it. If he comes back and he's a fringe player again, he goes back to being worth 10 or 15 million. And the cold hard facts are, you know, he's done well at Newcastle. He's worth a lot more at this point than he was a few months ago, or than he will be if he's warming our bench for us next season. And it's looking like Newcastle will put an offer in for him, and I think we're probably going to have to take it. And you know what, sometimes players go to a certain club and something just fits. You know, something just clicks for them, and they have this, almost like this bond with the club, the fans, the players, the history of somewhere. And, you know, he's it looks like he's having a whale of a time, and that would free up, you know, a fairly decent amount of funds for us to bring other personnel in. Someone else I want to talk about is Thomas Partey. I know there's a lot of people who think he hasn't reached the expectations that we probably had when he came in, and there was lots of fanfare when we got him in like the 23rd hour of the last summer transfer window. But there's lots of things I'm prepared to be patient about at the moment, especially like with the ownership of the club. That's going to take a long time to get that resolved, even if it, you know, if it ever does get resolved. But with Thomas Partey, he's had a lot of injuries. He's come into a league which, it may not be the best league in the world, but it's definitely the most competitive, it's definitely the most physical. And you can tell there's certain games where he's been blowing out his arse last 15 minutes, and you think it's taken him, same as Pepe I suppose, a long time to get to grips with this league. Maybe too long, some people might say. But also with Thomas Partey, you've got to remember that he's had so many different midfield partners. He's had Xhaka, El Neni, Ceballos, I think Willock at times. There was even a time when Saka was in there with him. And it strikes me, he hasn't had a midfield partner who's at the same level as him. Like, when I look back at, probably my favourite midfield partnership was Vieira and Partey. And they were both on the same level. And the Invincible year, we were very lucky. There were very few games either of them missed through either suspensions or injuries. And they worked really well together. So I just think once we get that midfield partner for Thomas Partey, and he has a proper pre-season behind him, and he's now more or less used to the rigours and the physicality of this league, I think we'll probably see the best of him next season. I'm optimistic that we will. And after seeing Yves Bissouma this afternoon, I think we may well have found the guy who's right to sit in with him. I was asked recently, I was on Cannon Chatter a couple of weeks ago, and Stephen asked me, you know, who I thought would be good targets for us in the transfer window. And I'm entirely the wrong person to ask that question, because I don't really pay a lot of attention to other teams. I watch Arsenal religiously, but I've got a busy life away from Arsenal with work and family commitments, so I don't really have a huge amount of interest in other players and other teams. I suppose I should work at that. If I want to carry on doing things like this, then it's something I probably need to focus on a little bit more. But I was properly impressed by Bissouma. He looks like he's everything that we would need. Some people say he's very similar to Thomas Partey. I don't really agree with that. I think Partey's got better going forwards, and he's got the skills and the potential to move the ball forward much faster than anything else we've got at the moment. So I'd much rather see him sitting in front of someone like Bissouma and let Bissouma do the defensive work. But having said that, Bissouma's capable of going forwards, and Partey's capable of sitting in, so they could be a foil for each other, or a pivot even, for those of you that like that word. Just rounding off though, last thing I want to talk about is Player of the Year. It's only really between two players, to be honest, and the sad state of affairs on the field for our club this season is that a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old have been our best players, and one of them's only really sort of featured for half a season. Now, Bukayo Saka has been amazing, and a large part of me doesn't want him to go to the Euros because the kid's looking absolutely drained now. We probably will go, but he's been a real shining light this season. The fact that he's made his 50th appearance this season today, and he's 19 years old. That's just, it's phenomenal for him, but it's a sad indictment of where our club is. But for me, my player of the year is Emile Smith-Rowe, and I know he's only essentially played half a season, but when he came in against Chelsea on Boxing Day, there was no impetus in our midfield at all. It was all sideways passing. There was no speed. There was no passion. There was no intent to get forward fast. Then all of a sudden, this kid comes in. He's picked the ball up, and defences that were expecting to just be able to sit back and let us pass the ball around, all of a sudden they got this kid coming onto them, and they were like, "All right, we weren't expecting that." And he's dragged other players forward with him, with his intent. And I think he's kind of changed the mindset and the way we play the game a little bit to that extent. So, yeah, I'm going with Emile Smith-Rowe as my player of the year. People may or may not agree. It's not really important. We've all got our own opinions, and that's just mine. That's just the way I see it. Anyway, I've talked for long enough. I've noticed I'm on about 15 minutes now, so I didn't do too well at making this a short video. But that's it. Season's over. Euros coming up. But if I don't catch any of you before, have a great summer, and hopefully I'll see you all next season. And if the Cronkies are still there, guarantee you, first game of the season, I'm at the Emirates. Alright, have a good one. Bye.